r/NoSleep. Posted by u/AliasForWhom. I don't know what it is, but it wants me, and I want it dead. My name is Brad, and this thing has been following me for months now. I think. No, I know. I catch it out of the corner of my eye, flitting through the now dying branches of trees. Or I hear it tapping at my window in the middle of the night. I can question my sight and hearing all I want, but I can't question the accompanying rush of nausea that keels me over, or the way my muscles contract around the pale scar on my abdomen. It wants me. I want it gone from my life. Forever. This all will sound insane, but stick with me, please. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I just wanted to go for a hike in the woods. I had finally gotten over a pretty bad breakup with my girlfriend, a liberal career woman contrasting with my pseudo-traditional centrist self, some irreconcilable differences there. And now summer was wilting away, and I felt like I had wasted those sunny days moping inside. I hopped onto Google, found a decent trail away from my small town and let myself breathe for a bit. The weather was a bit overcast, but I had a background in hiking and came prepared with layers and plenty of water. My dad was a preacher, but also a huge survivalist before he passed, and used to bring us into the backwoods every summer, so I should have known to bring a hiking buddy. But I needed the time to myself. And of course I messaged a few friends to tell them where I was and when I was expected to return, and I had my phone on me with ample reception. I felt confident in my prep, but no amount of prep was enough for what happened. I was maybe 90 minutes into the hike, and feeling better than I had in a while. I had gone off one of the more popular trails, and onto a longer, rougher one. Again, I was confident in myself, and really had nothing else to do with my day. In this denser part of the woods, there was more build-up from recent rain, more patches of mud and decaying plant life, the kind of stuff I wasn't fully paying attention to in my pondering and reminiscing. I don't even remember where my head was at exactly when it happened. Maybe family? Jesus Christ, I think I was dreaming about family. A traditional nuclear family, having kids. Fuck. My foot slid out from beneath me. I fell hard on my hip with a loud crunch, then half rolled, half scrambled off the side of the trail, desperately trying to get my footing. I almost did. I managed to get vertical just as I reached the edge of an escarpment over some brambling trees, but the momentum was too powerful and I careened off. The next thing I felt was another horrible crunch, this time in my abdomen, just below my ribcage on the right side. It was a crunch, because non-splintered, living timber isn't sharp enough to pierce. It forced its way straight through me. I screamed, eyes closed, patting my hands around me, against the brush that I was engulfed in. Each breath I took ground my ribs against this intrusion into my body. I felt warm blood soak my stomach, and my back, and I realized it had gone fully out the other side of my body. I screamed even louder, animal sounds of agony and terror exploding out of me. The sounds echoed back slightly, but were muffled by the brush. I don't know how long I hung there, squirming in the dark. I was probably going in and out of consciousness. At some point, I felt my toes brush against the dirt beneath me and my eyes shot open. I realized I needed to start fixing this, somehow. Forcing myself to look down, past the mossy wood dripping with my blood, I kicked at the ground and tried to stand, to relieve the pressure the weight of my body put on this stake inside me. The best I could manage was balancing on the tips of my toes to give myself a moment of slightly freer breathing. With more air in my lungs and the immediate shock pulling away, I started to get a sense of how much danger I was in. I knew pulling myself off this thing was stupid, so with incredible pain and multiple attempts, I bent my arms back enough to feel behind me, about 6 or so inches poked out of my back. Insane, but I wasn't going to accidentally jostle myself off of that. Next, I sent my shaking hands down to my jean pockets. My phone. I pulled it out, but felt it catch on the lining of the pocket. Cracked. I prayed it wasn't too bad. I held it in front of me, and hit the power button. The screen lit up. Jesus fucking Christ, thank God, the screen had a spiderweb of cracks across it, and things were barely visible, but it was operational enough that I unlocked it and called 911 with my blood-covered fingers. It was going to be okay. I was going to be okay. I just had to wait for help to arrive. I held my face and cried. After a few moments, I felt ready to take in my surroundings again. I went back on my toes and filled my lungs once more. The bramble I was in was thick and gnarled, with dark brown branches curling in on themselves, all thin and brittle. It seemed to be barely clinging to life in this early fall. So why was this branch in my fucking chest so different? I steeled myself and observed it. The bark was almost pearlescent, and spotted with luscious moss growing in thick patches. I had no idea how that was going to affect my body and was trying not to think about it. Aside from its health and odd appearance, it was also wild how it was sticking straight out of the mass the way it was. I followed the branch down into the mess, tracing it easily against its surroundings. As it reached the earth, I saw its trunk planted solidly in the ground. From the stump sprouted multiple other branches, but these stuck close to the soil, almost like a root system, but clearly different. I had never seen a plant like this. I rested off of my toes, allowing my weight to be carried by the branch once more, groaning at the pain. I felt faint for a moment, but became fully alert when I felt the branch twitch. I thought it was maybe just me, but after a few moments, I felt it again. Was it snapping? I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing, so I immediately returned to my toes. This time, I saw the animals. The bodies of the animals, I mean. Dead animals in the woods aren't unusual, but several gathered in this one area, in different stages of decomposition, hung upon these ground-level branches. No, not hung. Skewered. The gears in my brain stuck. The branch twitched again. And again. It began to pulse regularly. I began to scream again, not knowing why, just knowing this was wrong. I watched the bark ripple, from the trunk up to the branch, up to me. I clawed at the wood with my bare fingers. I slammed at it with my phone, only drawing more blood from my hands and shattering the device at last. The plant continued undeterred. I felt warmth spread across my back, slower than the blood, thicker. I writhed against the branch, not caring about self-preservation at this point, just not wanting it inside me a second longer. But as I pulled, I felt the bark pull up from the wood, hooking into me, shredding my insides. Another tide of warmth. More of a consistent pour. I kicked and thrashed as I watched a lump move through the branch, like a snake eating a mouse, move up towards my chest and inside me. My breath caught. As this form swelled against my internal organs, my body went rigid, as if it had nothing more to react with. It was out of ideas. The swell slowed and my chest pulsed. My vision was blurring. Then it pushed forward, out of my back, pushed a sound of horror and relief from deep within me. Something fell with the pouring liquid. I felt it hit the small of my back, then fall into the brush below. I gripped the branch in front of me in horrified silence. My white knuckles almost matched the pallor of the bark. The woods were so quiet. I shook all over, but held my breath. It breathed. A tiny, gurgling sound. I gagged. I couldn't see it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to know what was happening. I wanted to pass out, go into shock. I didn't care. I couldn't even scream anymore. My body had completely shut down, but I was awake for every second. I heard it rustle in the leaves, searching its surroundings. A fluttering sound, maybe? Like insect wings on summer nights. It scratched at the brush. It mewed. It began to cry and gasp and cry. It touched my foot. My brain mercifully went dark. I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. Blood loss, shock, dehydration, infection, etc. They told me all about the procedure and subsequent surgeries. They didn't say anything about the tree, the animals, the thing that came from my chest. I didn't say anything either. What was the point? And now it's looking for me. Only days later, it somehow found me these miles away. Instinct, maybe. I don't know. But it watches me from the trees. It calls out to me in that tiny little mewl. It makes me sick to my stomach, more than I've ever felt before. But it wants me. It's confused. It needs a parent.